Welcome to Obsession Engineering, and I'm out and about in the wonderful Lincolnshire Wolds. Today I am riding around on my V4 Aprilia, and I thought I'd give you a little catch up on how it's going. We've been together a little bit over a year now, we've done 5,000 miles together, and if I'm honest, it might be the best relationship I've ever had. So this is a 2016 Aprilia Tuono V4 1100 Factory. This is the first of the 1100 variant, and because it's a factory, it gets Öhlins forks, an Öhlins shock, and a very slightly chavvy graphics kit and paint job. The base model bikes tend to get a little bit more subtle on their colouring, but this is a little bit more shouty. And to be fair, the persona carries through most of the bike, so I don't really mind. This one has done 21,000 miles now. I've been using it on the road and on track for coaching at Blyton with rapid training, and if I'm honest, pretty much every mile has been an absolute joy of noise, wheelies, slides and general larking about. If you want one motorbike that will do pretty much everything in life, a V4 Tuono is a pretty good bet. So I'll tell you what we'll do next, is I'll get on board and we'll go and chat through the good and the maybe not so perfect with my big Aprilia.
I'm going to start with a fairly big statement. I love this motorbike. This is ridiculous, loud, brash, very Italian, and I absolutely adore it. So what's good about my Aprilia? Well, that thing in my right hand that's also between my knees is epic. The motor in these is basically an evolution of the original V4 motor that came out in 2009, up to 1100cc, and in Tuono format with different cams and bits in it. The torque at low and medium RPM is just addictive. You don't need to be revving this thing to go really, really fast, and on the road that just makes it absolutely addictive. Once you're over about 4,000 RPM, because it's a little bit lumpy under 4,000 RPM, you just sniff the throttle, it makes this wonderful barking noise, and it basically just catapults you into the next millennium. It is a very good way of covering a lot of ground, especially down a twisty road, in full entertaining fashion. This bike has an Arrow exhaust pipe on it, but the standard fuel map in it. And if I'm honest, sometimes, especially at low RPM and low throttle openings, it is a little bit snatchy. Because the standard fuel map's obviously quite lean for emissions and all that sort of stuff. But once you actually get a few RPM on it and get a bit of speed going, the throttle connection is actually really, really good. When I've had a chance to really stretch its legs up the mountain mile at the Isle of Man, where I'm used to holding on to S1000 BMWs with 200 horsepower, at the top of the rev range it's not that exciting. Don't get me wrong, you're going quite quickly, but it's obvious that the cams and bits that they put in the Tuono version of the engine are very much aimed for the part throttle and mid-range torque. The fact that it's still unnecessarily fast, I suppose it's just a bonus. If you ride it sensibly, which isn't very often, it'll do over 40 miles to the gallon. If you're cruising down the motorway or whatever, it's mid-40s, and so then it'll do 140-ish mile before the fuel light comes on, which is almost sensible, and it's part of the reason I haven't rushed to put the race map in it, because I'm aware I'm going to lose a bit of fuel mileage, and if I'm honest, I'm quite tight, and so the fact it's a little bit more frugal on the original map, I actually don't mind. Corner, down to second, turn her in. Oh, it's a bit bumpy. Oh, this is silly. It's brilliant. Back to the serious reviewing stuff. The next bit, the chassis. This is a sports bike with flat handlebars on it. Make no mistake. If you want a really comfortable, soothing ride, this is not the bike for you. The suspension, especially with the Öhlins in it, It's relatively plush, it's not too bad, but it is quite firm. So if you're going relatively quickly, it's spot on. If you're trying to have a relaxing ride down a motorway or whatever, it's a bit on the firm side. I rode it back to back with a mate's Monster 1200 base model, and his was considerably softer, which I have to admit, sometimes on the roads, especially on bumpy Lincolnshire roads, actually made it a little bit easier to ride because it was a bit more compliant over the bumps. But as soon as you wanted to go just a little bit quicker, this definitely had the edge. It is more aggressive, but it has much more potential for going quickly. I have also used this bike quite a lot on track for when I've been rider coaching at Blighton with Rapid, and especially around Blighton, which it's not a particularly high speed circuit. There's quite a lot of slow corners and chicanes and bits. You can flick through the chicanes really nicely because you've got big wide handlebars for counter steering everywhere, so it's nice and easy. You're sat up in quite a nice commanding position, so you've got an excellent view, and the engine of course just fires you off the slow corners. So if you want to go quick round a racetrack relatively easily, this is an excellent tool. It can do sitting on the motorway. It's not got masses of wind protection, so it's not particularly brilliant if you want to travel on an autobahn at 150 miles an hour all day. But normal motorway speeds, the wind protection is passable. But if you want to go to a racetrack and hoon around like you're on a sports bike, it will do that as well. Because it's a sports bike underneath, it is made to go around corners. And go around corners it can do incredibly well. It's really accurate. When you're on the throttle driving off the corners, it doesn't squat particularly. It tracks a line out the corner, it turns in, it actually deals with the bumps relatively well. It is actually quite stable, as much as if you wanted to go around on one wheel it will do. If you want to ride it sensibly and you're going a really bumpy road, it doesn't really tie itself in knots. The chassis is excellent. It is more than you will ever need on road or realistically on track. Right, this bike has quick shifter but not a blipper. The shifter's pretty good. I wouldn't mind a blipper, especially on track. Sometimes it's nice for that last second gear change just to basically make your life easier, but it doesn't actually need it. The later bikes had a blipper as well. The later bikes also got cruise control, which I don't have, and I will admit I would quite like for the twice a year I sit on a motorway. So let's move on to what's not quite so good with the Tuono. And the biggest complaint I really have is the front brake. It's not got a particularly great amount of power to it, and it hasn't got a particularly great amount of bite to it. The later bike's got a radial master cylinder. For some reason in 2016 Aprilia still thought it was acceptable to fit an axial master cylinder. It is on Brembo calipers, but they're not a particularly good spec Brembo caliper. They are in fact the same calipers you get on an RS660, which weighs quite a bit less than this, and the 660 gets a better master cylinder. So if you're trying to go relatively quickly and you're trying to stop in a hurry, they're not really very good. When I first got the bike, it had rear brake pads that I assume were actually made of oil, because it didn't matter how hard you pressed on the back brake, nothing really happened. So I put some double H EBC pads in the back, and all of a sudden we actually have a back brake. The lever is reasonably good, you've got a reasonable feel to it, and the ABS doesn't cut in unless you're actually locking the back wheel up. And that brings us nicely onto the electronics. Back in 2011 with the APRC RS V4, Aprilia were the first people to actually run a gyro controlled traction control and anti-wheelie system, and that has carried through onto this. On track you can get it to sit on the traction control a little bit, but it will allow it a little bit of slide, and it is of course lean angle sensitive because it's gyro controlled. I will admit the very first thing I did on the very first day I had the bike was turn the anti-wheelie off, because I've bought an 1100cc naked superbike thing. Why would I want to stop having any fun with it? So I turned the anti-wheelie off, now we get on much better. I for one am a fan of having ABS on a road bike. You don't need it very often, but the day you do need it, it is better to just be able to throw the anchor out and know you're not going to fall off because the wheel's locked up. And I think that's a good thing. It's one less thing to worry about, means you can get on with just reading the road and having fun. Riding position wise, I'm just over 6 foot tall and I find this really comfortable. The tank's relatively slender, but there's enough to get hold of when you're sort of gripping the tank in the corners and stuff like that. The handlebars I think are in an excellent position. Right, controls and stuff. I have one little niggle with this. These bikes still have the plus and minus paddles just behind the clutch lever for going up and down the traction control on the move. And you would think, brilliant idea, I can adjust my traction control really easily. But what you actually do is, half the time when you're pulling the clutch lever in, because it's in a slightly odd position to fit past the button, you clip the down button and turn your traction control down. But that's okay, because every time you indicate, you turn the traction control back up. I can understand exactly why they put the buttons there. They're easy to get to if you're on a racetrack and want a tiny bit more traction control. But realistically, they just get in the way, and they'd be better off tucked out the way a little bit more. So for me, this is the perfect blend of fast road bike that is capable of doing track stuff, it's capable of going touring. It's basically brilliant, and it makes this noise. And who doesn't want that in their lives? Because I know I definitely do. There's a couple of little niggles on track. The front brake isn't very good, and because you've not got a lot of engine braking in the R mode, it does have a bit of a tendency to want to push on a little bit on the way into corners. If you match that up with the fact that the bike's actually quite heavy, when you're pushing on track, sort of going for a bit of a lap time, you are aware of the bulk of it, especially on corner entry, and you can just begin to get a little bit of a push in the front tyre, in the fork. And you could probably put a bit more support in the fork to be able to put more load into it, but then you'd ruin the ride even more on the roads. But trust me, as a compromised road, setup that does road and track, the standard settings in this bike are actually really good. It's a little bit firm on the road and it's a tiny bit soft on the track, but the fact it will do both of them without touching a spanner on it is pretty damned impressive. And that brings me to an interesting point. This is the first bike I've owned in a long time that I haven't felt the need to actually adjust anything other than turning the anti-wheelie off. I like a quite sporty chassis, so the fact it's relatively firm, it works well for me. And it's comfy enough that you can go touring on it. It's sporty enough that you can go to a racetrack on it. And it basically just does everything without having to fiddle with it. Woo! That was a bit greasy. Let's get some conclusions going. What's good? The engine is epic. It's just brilliant on the road. It's got loads of torque, loads of drive, way more speed than you actually need, and it makes the most addictive noise. That engine is an absolute peach. Combine that with a chassis that is actually good enough to win World Superbikes, because it did, and just put some handlebars on it, it's brilliant. The suspension is good enough that you can go track daying on it without having to touch anything, and you can go touring on it without having to touch anything. Yes, it's a bit firm on a bumpy back road, and yes, it's not that supportive when you're trying to really push for a lap time on track, but the fact that it can still do both of those things without actually having to adjust it is a pretty good accolade. Downsides, the front brake's not very good. I am going to be doing something with that, which will involve calipers and the master cylinder. The electronics might not be the newest, bestest thing in the world, but they will keep you on track. They will keep the wheels near enough in line if that's what you want them to do. And if you're really boring, you can have the anti-wheelie on so it'll stop the front wheel going where it always wants to go. And that's about it. I think it's fair to say I love this thing, and if I had to get rid of it, the only thing I'd want to replace it with is another V4 Tuono.